Hello everybody, I'm Anne Ferrer in India, in South India, working in Rural Development Trust, Fundación Vicente Ferrer, since the last 50 years, an organization of development. In this crisis, coronavirus crisis, I have been thinking very much of some words of my husband, Vicente Ferrer, when he said that poverty is the greatest violation of human rights. I realized that, I know that, and it came home to me so much these days, because I know that poor people in the world, in countries like India, in other countries, their life is very fragile. With difficulty, they manage to feed and clothe their family day to day. If some big calamity happens, if a chronic disease like tuberculosis hits them, if they have suddenly a sickness and a huge bill to pay, their whole family collapses and their fragile life is torn and they sink into extreme poverty. When poor people cannot manage the day-to-day life, what happens when there is a pandemic and a crisis like this one, or like any other crisis, an emergency that happens in the world? Poor people suffer the most. They cannot, their fragile existence, their very small savings and resources makes them unable to cope. What I was really thinking about these days was we have to do more. We can't just talk about the elimination of poverty and inequality in the world. We have to put it more into action. When in a country like India, we spend only a little more than 3% every year on health, and when people, all people, do not have access to quality health care in their daily life, how is that going to be possible that a country can cope in any crisis like this? We can't leave it like words. Everybody has a right to quality health care. We have to make that a reality, that in everyday life, in countries, all countries, and especially poor countries like ours, people have that right to a good health infrastructure and a good system. And it applies the same to education. I know in many countries, in my country too, in India, despite thousands of youngsters coming out of university, they haven't got the skills to be employable, have a decent job and a decent life. So it is up to not just our governments in the world and our big institutions in the world to wake up and take that call to end poverty and inequality. It is also something that we as citizens and individuals can also participate, collaborate, and be that fire that lights the world to wake up to inequality and poverty and say no to it. These crises, like any crisis, bring up the good heart and the good will of people. I have seen it through different crises like droughts, like earthquakes during the tsunami, and this major pandemic in the world. The goodness in people comes out. And again, I quote some words of my husband, everybody has a good heart. And in this crisis, we see the good heart of people, not just people who have resources, but even poor people. In my place here in Andhra Pradesh, in Anantapur, in South India, poor people are seeing how daily wage laborers without work, without food, migrants without work, without food, stranded in their unknown place, are suffering without a roof over their head, without food to eat. And poor people and people of all resources want to do something. They are sending to us every day whatever they can send for the food distribution program we have for very poor people in these days. They're sending a bag of vegetables, a bag of rice, whatever they can manage to send. So we need to harness these good hearts. We need to harness this goodwill and take it forward to the future to fight for equality and against poverty in our country and in all our nations. There are many ways we can do it. There are many causes in the world to help poverty, to help chronic diseases, to support causes. We can pick one of them and commit ourselves to supporting that cause all our lives. Or, as was the philosophy, as is the philosophy of Vicente Ferrer in RDT and Fundación Vicente Ferrer, we believe in the good hearts of people and the good action for another. Let it be in your own house, let it be for your neighbor, let it be for your own town, for your country, or for any other country. A good action for another. Imagine billions of good actions, millions of good actions, helping people have that decent life with all the necessities of life and the future dreams which we all have and which is only fair and right that everybody should have. This virus has spread panic and has spread sickness and has spread despair. But I have seen, in my little corner here of India, I have seen hope, I have seen change. People have felt change, come out of extreme poverty. I think that together we can really harness this goodwill of people, and together we can help make ourselves a better world and a dignified and equal life for everybody. In these days, as you all must have noticed, and I have noticed myself, when I sit outside in the morning and I feed my 5 dogs and 2 cats, just within 5 or 6 days of the lockdown, I saw birds that I haven't seen for 20 years. And whilst lying down and doing my exercises and meditation, I heard the sound of birds throughout the day that I really haven't heard for a long time. And I know from stories in the world that people have seen the blue sky for the first time. And it's, again, they say it has to be a wake-up call, but it really has to be a wake-up call for us. We keep our homes clean and neat and tidy, and we're bothered about hygiene and cleanliness. The world is our home. I think also, I'm a person, I do not like to speak if I cannot put into action. And I have been thinking to myself these days, really, with the lockdown, we have gone inside of our houses Animals have come out into their natural world, which was their natural world. The skies have become clearer. Our environment has been cleaner. Let's hang on to it. Let us see what each, for me, what can I do as head of the organization? Well, I think that I can make sure RDT FEF works in every important area of development: health, education, ecology, with women, with persons of disability. I can make sure that every single program, every activity of RDT FEF has as its central focus the environment and treasuring and improving the environment, be it by more tree plantation, be it by using eco-friendly, different materials than what we are using, be it by avoiding plastic and using something else. I can play a role in seeing that we as an organization do that, and I myself in my house and in my home, whatever change I can make, if I can create a little more greenery, if I can eat a little more naturally, if I can find a better way, which we need in India, of disposal of our waste, if we can avoid plastic, I think that really, if we care about the world we're going to pass on to our children, this has been really a light to us to see that how are we all destroying and spoiling our world, and how we can all, each one of us, do something to make our world a cleaner and greener place. And many people think sometimes, what is it if only I do? But let us take that collective action that we all, if we all do in our own place, that will be hundreds and millions of small actions all over the world to make the world we are going to pass to our children and our grandchildren a healthier and cleaner world. Small innovations, some healthy practices which really I have noticed these days. I've been 50 years here. We've talked a lot in health about the prevention of infectious diseases. And we talk a lot about washing the hands and covering your mouth when you cough. We have a lot of tuberculosis in India. Sometimes it's very hard, and people sometimes listen, people sometimes don't listen. They have a trouble with running water. They have a trouble to have enough soap. But I see that the education which has gone massively across the world, there is just one mantra nowadays, and that is wash your hands with soap and cover your mouth if you cough. I think that's going to go very far in countries like mine and other countries to prevent a lot of infectious diseases like tuberculosis, like diarrheal diseases, like hepatitis. This is something that is going to serve us into the future. And villages, in villages where they have difficulty to practice that, I have seen some very beautiful innovations where youngsters have put together a contraption made out of sticks with 2 bottles, drinking water bottles, one containing liquid soap, one containing water, a foot pedal, and when they press the pedal, the bottle goes upside down and they can wash their hands with soap and water. I thought that was a very beautiful innovation. And we need many new initiatives and many innovations, not only to adapt to the world we have now, but to create a better world in the future. This coronavirus pandemic has brought us all together in the world. However far away you are, whatever country you live in, developed country, not developed country, underdeveloped country, this crisis has brought us all together. We have seen and witnessed the bravery of all our frontline workers in this crisis, nurses and doctors and health workers and other officials putting their lives on the line in order to help us and save us. And we've witnessed the good action of many hundreds and thousands of people to help others who are suffering. Let us keep this, let us treasure this, let us take it together and harness that goodness and that goodwill individually and collectively to make all of us together a better, just world and a cleaner and healthier world for all of us. Best wishes and regards from this little corner of India to all of you.